This is Valley News Live at 10.
And tonight, we're days away from Fargo Public Schools bringing students back to the classroom. Although some parents have been set on bringing kids back all along, Valley News Team's Callie Hubbard talked with a family that has a tough choice to make.
Fargo mom Kira Houston says she knew what she was signing up for when she enrolled her 2 kids in Fargo Public Schools Virtual Academy.
Virtual learning has been a learning experience, not just for the students, but for the parents and the educators.
She says it was a difficult decision, but she's sending her 6th grader Maya back to in-person learning. She was recently diagnosed with autism and needs more help.
Her type of issues is advocacy, and for us, you can't reach through the computer. The teachers that work so hard can't reach through the computer and say, you need to be here right now.
Houston's 4th grader Liam making his own decision to go from VA to in-person too.
He felt that he wasn't a well enough student to continue in Virtual Academy, and that surprised both of us. He just said, I feel I would be more successful in person.
The family's saying they've enjoyed having the online option, but realized it wasn't a good fit. Houston hoping the district continues doing Virtual Academy even after the pandemic, so everyone has the option to work safely from home.
I am grateful that we had an opportunity to try it and hopefully in the future have an opportunity to reutilize it.
In Fargo, Callie Hubbard, Valley News Live.
Fargo Public Schools Planning Committee meets again on February 8th to review the learning plan. They'll also talk about a potential vaccination plan for staff. A West Fargo family's trailer home was destroyed in a fire this afternoon. It happened around 12:30 at 429 B Street in West Fargo. That's right across from the police department. No one was home at the time of the fire, but some pets were killed. Still no word on the cause. The North Dakota Game and Fish Department has launched an investigation with the Walsh County Sheriff's Office after 14 wild turkeys were poached near Park River last month. The birds were found on the north side of the home dam. If you have any information, call the Sheriff's Office or the Game and Fish Department. Those numbers are up on your screen now. Additional security was in place as protesters gathered at the Minnesota State Capitol. An estimated 150 people were expected to attend. While state leaders say there were no credible threats to the area, security was increased. This after reports that the FBI was monitoring potential threats to state capitals nationwide ahead of next week's inauguration in Washington, D.C. The small group of protesters mostly left the area by about 1:30 in the afternoon. No arrests were made. Tonight, there continues to be an uneasy tension and growing military and police presence at the nation's capital and at state capitals across the country. As the troops gather, there are now new concerns of some targeting Wednesday's inauguration. Jay Gray has the latest.
Every day, the trucks, the troops securing the nation's capital are building. By Wednesday's inauguration, more than 25,000 National Guard soldiers will be on the ground, along with police and federal agents.
You know, I don't think anybody has ever seen anything like this.
Outside the razor wire fencing, businesses are boarded up. The core of D.C., in essence, closed down.
Our special agent in charge talked about the general and specific threats that our intelligence apparatus is collecting, both here and across our nation.
I just drove an hour and a half here, so, you know, just to be here, just to stand up.
A handful of demonstrators and armed militia gathered briefly today at Michigan State Capitol, met there by a show of force.
Everybody saw what happened last week at the U.S. Capitol. We wanted to make sure that that scene didn't repeat itself here in Michigan.
State houses across the country have become fortresses.
Completely crazy, unprecedented, and really scary.
After a warning from the FBI that they could be targets for violent protests.
Just the presence is going to be enough, I think, to stop anything from happening.
If it's not, thousands of soldiers remain at the ready around the clock. Jay Gray, NBC News, Washington.
The plan is to keep security teams in place in D.C. and around the country for an extended period of time after Wednesday's ceremony. North Dakota is sending additional soldiers to the presidential inauguration in D.C. About 130 soldiers from the 816th Military Police Company will join 20 North Dakota Guard members at the U.S. Capitol. Law enforcement officials insist they won't be caught flat-footed, and the FBI has warned of potential armed protests and attacks in D.C. and in every state capital. Changes are coming to the North Dakota National Guard's 817th and 818th engineering companies in Williston and Jamestown. We're told the orders came from the U.S. Army as they continue to evolve military strategies.
The Army's determined that we need a little different structure within the engineer community in order to help support those types of operations.
These changes won't happen until 2025. The last time an engineering company changed was in 2006 before a second deployment to Iraq. How much margin should prisoners receive on their sentence for good behavior? A bill in the state legislature would more than double the window for parole. Right now, some inmates can receive an opportunity for parole when 85% of their sentence is served. But this bill would allow that to go down to 65% of the sentence served.
The change in 1104 would really help the parole board to individualize sentences, the remainder of the sentence and that release plan for that individual.
Several members of local law enforcement said they do not agree with this bill. Investigators are still trying to figure out what led to an early morning fire at a Minot business. Around 4:30 this morning, crews battled flames at East Burdick Expressway. No one was hurt, and we don't know the extent of the damage. But smoke damage could be seen on the west side of the building, and the front windows were boarded up. More than 100,000 K-12 students are enrolled in the state's public schools. A new program is collecting data on student learning preferences in the state. It's reported by school districts and shows how many students want face-to-face, hybrid, or distance learning models of instruction. This information is used to help state officials understand the impact of COVID-19 on students, families, and schools.
That does change on a daily basis, and we reflect those changes daily, and that allows policymakers as well as school districts to review, validate, as well as adjust any policies based on those numbers changing.
The information also helps determine what kind of education support is needed. Coming up later tonight on Valley News Live at 10, help may soon be on the way for renters in Minnesota. But first, summer's in with a look at your forecast.